We're going to try to keep this really tight. We have a big panel. There's 7 people that are representing, like literally I could do 5 hours on this panel, and we're limited to 45 minutes. So I'm going to ask people to do the briefest of introduction. Grab a mic on your way up, or if you could hand out the mics. We've got a bunch of mics. And we're going to try to keep the introductions really short, and then we're going to do as deep a dive as we can into location-based virtual reality entertainment. I'm Bob Cooney. For those of you that don't know, I am going to do a shameless plug for my new book. Yeah, I might just stand, just to be safe. Because that would be hilarious if I fell off the stage. Real Money from Virtual Reality. It's about for solution providers looking to launch into the location-based entertainment industry. BobCooney.com. Pick up a copy. So Baba, just go here.
Oh, okay. Yes, I'm Baba from Secret Location. Secret Location is a VR content studio and a distribution technology company. We're owned by a parent company called Entertainment One, which is a large television and film distribution company. Yeah, I'm going to keep it short.
So actually, give me one product solution, something you've done that people might recognize.
Sure, we've got a distribution technology platform called Vuser. Vuser Publisher. It's got a few different SKUs, but the one that's been in market longest is essentially a content management system that facilitates content distribution to the at-home storefront. So we work with the New York Times, Discovery, AMC, Nat Geo, and a handful of other studios that are producing content with some kind of velocity. It makes it easy to upload content to one kind of cloud dashboard and then check some boxes and push it out. And now we're kind of more focused on the LBE space. I'm sure we'll get into it.
Awesome, thanks.
Hey everyone. So I'm Gregg Katano. I'm head of growth and strategy for Hologate. I am also the manager for Phase 2, which is a tech space in Culver City. And I'm part of the VR Arcade and VR Festival with Chris Crisatelli and Nick Risher. So I just wanted to say thank you for the mention of Hologate already. So yeah, we've sold 300 units in just a little over a year. Extremely grateful for the support from all of you guys and everyone watching the live stream. We just found this solution that worked. It was a small footprint. It was multiplayer, which was very important to make it social. And it was inclusive of the people waiting to play. We have monitors and interactive lighting, so it just seemed to be the right turnkey system. And my whole strategy with the team was, hey, hopefully we can get enough of a footprint so we can attract some IP. And we have Angry Birds coming out next quarter, so very excited for that.
Awesome. Thanks, Craig.
Hi, I'm Tammy, Brandt with Dreamscape Immersive. We are location-based virtual reality, opened our first site in Los Angeles in December, and have several sites announced that will roll out next year.
I'm James Ram, I'm president of AI Solve. We have approximately 40 location-based entertainment destinations in about 10 countries, and our product is WePlayVR.
And that's distributed by Namco, I think, in the...
Yes, it's distributed by Bandai Namco worldwide.
Yep. Awesome.
Hi, my name is Doug Griffin. I'm the founder and CEO of Nomadic. We're a location-based entertainment company that really encourages people to walk through experiences and physically engage with the virtual world. We just opened up our first venue in Orlando, and we're actually launching our second experience there right now. We're very excited about that, and that's it. Yeah.
My name is Dorothy Ferguson, and I head up marketing at 2-Bit Circus for Brandt and the Bushnells. You may know us. We have 38,000 square feet of fun play, elbow-to-elbow, shoulder-to-shoulder, multiplayer gaming, everything from immersive theater through to VR, story rooms, arcade, midway, food and beverage to your heart's content, and it is doing well.
And a robot bartender.
And a robot bartender.
Hi, my name is Phillip Steinfatt. I'm co-founder and CEO of VR Nerds, content studio from Germany. And we made Tower Tag, which is like laser tag in VR, specifically made for location-based VR. And after showing it a very early demo here at VR Arcade Fest 2 years ago at the Level Up event, thanks again, we rolled out to more than 15 countries in about 100, 120 locations at the moment and planning to open 300 more in the next 2 years.
Awesome, thank you. So, and I haven't met, I don't think we've met, have we? So I've met everybody on this panel, and we haven't met yet, but I do know
AI Solve.
Yes. No. Who's your Shauna Heller? We've done a bunch of panels together.
Okay.
So, all right. So I'm going to dive into some stuff that I think some of the challenges, the questions that I get questions all the time around LBVR, and the number one question I get is around business models. And so Tammy, we were just chatting outside. There's a lot of investment going in now, building brick and mortar. It's expensive. Talk to me about like the business. Where do you guys see you just opened your first really permanent location. What are you seeing from a business model standpoint that might work?
Yeah, I mean, I think great content and refreshing the content so you get a lot of new users and repeat, experience, and really just getting, more and more people to all of these businesses so they understand that this is something worth leaving the home and spending money to do. But it's a business that's still unproven, location-based, because, in terms of what's the utilization, what's the rent, how do you make money, how much money you put in the content. I mean, there's a lot of factors, and it's still a fairly new business, at least what we're trying to do.
Now, you guys you opened a destination location in a mall. Talk about the location a little bit and why you chose that location.
Yeah, so it's the Century City Mall. It's a Westfield Century City Mall. So Westfield was one of our Series A investors, but it's a mall that just went through a $1 billion renovation. So it's, doing what malls and a lot of the rest of the world have been doing for a while, making it a place not just for shopping, with lots of different experiences. So given that we're an LA-based company, we thought it was smart to have our initial kind of flagship store there. In the Century City Mall, just given its renovation, Westfield was an investor, et cetera. We're right around the corner from Italy, which drives a lot of traffic. So it just made a lot of sense. But that said, looking at the economics, it's not cheap to, have a store there. So even though Westfield was an investor, it's a big capital expenditure for us to open up that store. So far, the ticket sales have been amazing. It's exceeding expectations, but, we have to get some time under our belt.
Now, one of the things I find interesting is I know you're pre-selling a lot of tickets online.
Yeah.
Yet it's a fairly short. Go ahead if you want to correct me on that. Okay. It's a fairly short experience from a destination standpoint, right? I think conventional wisdom says 60 minutes or more escape room length for a destination for people to get off their couch and go out. So it seems like you're in a location that's looking to take advantage of traffic, yet you're selling tickets online. Talk to me about that from a strategy standpoint.
Yeah, I mean, we want to be able to pre-sell tickets. We have had a lot of interest with people stopping by. We're, still have a lot of time between shows because we're optimizing the whole process. So I think what will happen in the next few months is we're going to add a lot more shows because we're going to have it more at what we think is the right cadence. And then there'll be a lot more slots for the stop-in visitors. And in terms of the time of the experience, our, basically 8 to 12 minutes is the time of each of our titles, and people think they're in there a lot longer. So at least what we're seeing is that seems to be a solid sweet spot.
Yeah, it's the VR time warp, right? So
Yeah.
Doug, you're in a similar business as Dreamscape. Like, I don't know if you have a different answer to those questions, offer it. Otherwise, what do you have to add to that?
Well, I will say that Nomadic, we really consider ourselves a platform company, and we're building both a digital and physical platform to deliver new and immersive kind of premium experiences to market. So that's maybe a differentiator in terms of business model. And already I think we've kind of proven that we've worked with one partner out of the Netherlands. We're working with a partner in LA now. We've got a wide variety of content that's coming and an SDK that works across different game engines and stuff as well. In terms of location, it's interesting because we just opened up our location just about the same time Dreamscape did. In Orlando. And the reason we went to Orlando is we're tech people and story people at heart, not hospitality people. And you're really running these destinations, you need to become a hospitality company. And where better in the world than to go where you've got Disney and Universal and people who focus on this as a career. So we're learning a lot.
So from an employee standpoint, you're talking about employees.
And not only just to hire employees, but to learn as a company how to become a better company to serve your customer. Because it's not just within the play space that they're having the experience. It's the moment they find out about you. It's the moment they walk into the door. And so we're focusing a lot on metrics, guest metrics, but also those operations and how to make that experience from door to door.
Awesome. So Dorothy, the other question I get to build on that is, how do we get people in the door? What are the challenges and what are some of the things that you guys have learned around getting people to come to a destination VR-focused attraction?
So there are a couple things that we tested right away as we were moving from our STEAM and STEM kind of organic foundation that we started with, which was beta and beta testing, the tried and true way of getting people to organically want to participate and know who you are and eagerly want to learn more was through beta testing the different things that we were doing for the park through development. So all the way through the last year before we went live in September, that was a cadence of an every 30-day thing. And it was current people that knew us and new people that knew us, bring your friend, bring a friend. So everything was about social.
It's
Social,
actually more than a
social,
year.
social.
You were doing the art walk. I don't know how long
We
you've been
did the
there, but
art
you were
walk.
doing the art walk
Yep.
for years in
Years and
LA
years and years,
at the
yes.
lab, right?
And then, of course, by jumping off with the foundation, we were in schools all over LA County and in San Jose. And of course, we did the circus, right? The 2-bit circus actually in San Jose at the San Jose Arena.
And for those of you who don't know, that was a giant pop-up event in LA and in San Francisco.
Yes.
Took over Pier 39.
It did.
It was how many people? 30,000 people?
30,000 people.
Yeah, came over over 2 successive weekends. It was an amazing event.
Well,
so.
what I would also add is I love the beta nights that you guys would have with 2-bit, is that they would open it up to the public every time you guys had new stuff to
And that's
test.
a tactic that game tech developers have been using in order to create that energy around, I have this and you don't, the bragging right of knowing more than the next guy.
And I'll give you guys a tip watching out in the audience and online. If you're running a VR arcade, you can create them. They don't even have to be real. You can take a new game that you've never launched at your location, call it a beta night on a Tuesday when nobody's coming.
Put it out on Facebook.
Put it out on Facebook. Invite your friends. They'll come in and they'll think they're getting something
They
special.
will, and they'll keep coming back because they want to be behind the curtain.
That's an awesome tip. Thank you. So let's go to Baba because I think you can kind of like bridge the gap because we have 3 people here that are actually doing retail operations and then 3 people that are building solutions for other people's operations. I have no idea what you guys actually do. So you seem to do everything or nothing, and I can't figure out which of those it is.
The company's called Secret Locations. You're not supposed to know.
My grandfather always told me when you read a mystery, the answer is always in the title of the book.
No, it's a fair question. I mean, look, we're storytellers at heart. We're a content studio first. We got into technology and distribution technology to kind of control our own destiny and get content out there. So it was always in, let's build technology in service of us getting our content out there. And we started by putting stuff up on Steam, and then we started kind of focusing on the LBE space, and we get a little bit more vertically involved with working very closely with, the systems, the manufacturers, the Hologates, and these guys. We even co-developed a 4-seat simulator chair and took it to IAPA in November with the purposes of just learning and testing. It was kind of a cheap way for us to do that.
And that was with Ubisoft's Eagle Flight, right?
Yeah, it was Eagle Flight, and it was we licensed 4 titles, and we're a distributor. Our long-term vision is to be a leading distributor of premium VR experiences. And
what does that mean? When you say distributor, what does that mean? Because that can mean a lot of different people based on what your product
fair question.
Based on what the product is.
So we have our own content studio, and we'll cap out at about 2 productions a year. But we want to basically push more content through and help and work with third-party creators to get content through and make money. That's what our parent company does for TV.
So in the game
and
business,
film.
that would be a publisher.
Exactly.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
Publisher, distributor. That's fair. So we've been having to learn if we want to make content and we have to take it to the LB world. How far do we have to go vertically? Do we have to sell our own turnkey system? We don't really want to be hardware manufacturers. We have our own. We built software, like I said.
That's the problem. Nobody wants to be a hardware manufacturer.
Right. So our kind of like our goal, and my team's goal specifically, is to connect the dots between creators and places where they can make money, which are limited today, right? There's successes from companies like Hologate and these guys, which is awesome, but there's also like increasingly some fragmentation in the market. So if you're a creator sitting out there and you want to make content, how do you even, aside from putting it on Steam, which is easy, like how do you even start the conversation? Who do you call? How do you right size for all these different systems? So that's a problem that kind of needs to be solved, and we're going to explore that and attack that from any and every angle we can. So that gets us involved with not just creating content, but working very closely with these hardware manufacturers, really understanding what we can do more on the creator's behalf at the location, so helping promote tournaments and that kind of thing. We've realized it's incumbent upon us to take on more of a marketing role for the content, but we're actively learning and trying to connect the dots, and we have some technology we kind of use where we can to help push content out. So that's why it feels like we do a little bit of everything.
Okay, cool. So I just want to, and so I'm running a distribution online workshop for companies looking to find distribution in location-based entertainment, and at the end is going to be a pitch fest. So if you guys are interested, especially on the content provider side, I'd love to have you involved.
Sure,
in
I'd
that.
love to do another panel with you, Bob.
So Gregg, Hologate's been a blowout success. You launched at IAPA in 2016? 2017. Seems like it was longer than that. Instant success. You'd mentioned you had like the right fit. What's the right fit? Like, what is it? What check boxes, if you're bringing a solution to location-based VR, location-based entertainment, what are the key check boxes you have to have checked to make sure that you actually fit the market, that you're solving the needs of the market?
Right. Well, I can't take credit for helping in the design, helping with the games. I had come in later after Life and Funky. Robert had built the system. But for me, I'm sorry, my phone is on. I started out with Google Cardboard. I don't know if many of you knew that. So I was with strategy, doing Google Cardboard, and I really saw it as a way to get out to the public, be agnostic, and do my research. And Chris Atelli and I, we started working with Vegas, Caesars, MGM, and we said, listen, how do we help the community get their content out there? And I saw it with 3D. I was one of the earliest guys in 3D, and the biggest thing was distribution. So when I got into VR, I said, that's all I'm going to focus on. So how do we get it out to the public? Because we can make all this wonderful content, but if we don't have the railroad, if we don't have the way to get the goods out to the people, none of us are going to be making money. None of us are going to be able to survive. So Google Cardboard was the first idea that I came up with to get access. And then working with Chris and Vegas, I started to realize, oh, wait a minute, let's take advantage of the traffic, the foot traffic. Let's look at what is working. So we invited a bunch of our friends to bring out their demos, give them a chance to work on their pitch. And what we realized is that, wait a minute, when we don't have monitoring, when we don't have something to show the people walking by, they just keep walking. Or they feel left out, and that's when people kind of F with you. You know, they poke you, they try to scare you because they're feeling left out. So I'm looking at the psychology and saying, wait a minute, it's very isolating, not just for the people in the headset, but also the people that are waiting to play. So with all this information that I was gathering, I started realizing, wait a minute, with Vegas, and we talked about this on one of your other panels, is that with Vegas, it was instrumental because I started looking at, wait a minute, these guys can just replace virtual reality anytime with a bank of slot machines. So to them, every square inch was money, not just every square foot. So started saying, okay, and owning my own facilities, you know, rent is a pain in the ass. So how do I maximize the least amount of space, one, okay, and that was Hologate. Anything under 20 by 20 square feet seemed to be the magic number. How do we make it inclusive? I'm talking to my friends at Google. It's like, you know what, guys? We have to make it inclusive. Interactive lighting, monitoring so that the people waiting to play can see it. And then Life and Robert, they go, oh yeah, we're building the system. It's 16 by 16 square feet. We're going to have monitoring all around. I'm like, check, check, check. And then it's going to be multiplayer. I go, what? Okay, now it's social. Yeah. And the fact that they had cracked the code with the social aspect, I said, that is already the reasons I wanted to get involved. So Nick Risher, he had discovered Hologate before I had, and you know, he brought me into the loop, and sure enough, we just started to, you know, go through this long courting period, and it just seemed to be the right amount of experience brought together at the right time.
So small footprint, social, great expectation, inclusive. Those are the, and I think turnkey too for the market you're selling into. It's got to be a product that they can buy and plug in, right?
Right, and with your help, I mean, you had helped us with the idea of distribution, you know, CreativeWorks. I mean, we had met them at an event. You had said, you know, you basically validated that point, and CreativeWorks has been just godsend for us. So thank you.
So James, so you guys have a solution. Now you're doing, I think what Hologate's doing now is really opening up to third-party development. You guys have developed kind of your own content, right? And you're trying to get more compact and more people in the space. What are some of the learnings you've had around your product and some of the things that you see and how it's going to evolve?
Well, our product, in fact,
Speaking to the mic.
in fact, I believe is going into 2-bit Circus on
Next
Monday.
week you get deployed, yes.
Exactly. So we basically also have an AI-based SDK. So we are going to third party. Awesome. In fact, our newest game, which is We Bear Bears for Cartoon Network, was developed by them, so that it was developed as a third-party game. The other thing that we're focusing in a big way on is the international market. We see that as a much bigger market, especially bringing VR to destinations that have little or no experience with it.
It really does have to be turnkey, otherwise the
Yes.
overhead on operational training and management is so out of control.
Absolutely. But we've been very successful in the Middle East, for example. We have installations in Dubai, Abu Dhabi, and a number of other places, Saudi Arabia, so on and so forth. So we've been focusing on the Middle East. We're also looking at India and other places like that.
Cool, thanks. So Phillip, so you guys have, I played his game for the first time at VRLA last year and just like literally fell in love with not only the game, but the guy that created it. He's an old laser tag and paintballer. I'm a laser tag guy from the old, and I saw right away that it stoked the competitive elements to me. So let's talk a little bit about competition and esports and what you've learned around that and how that could potentially drive traffic into location-based entertainment.
Well, actually, we copy-pasted this new esports or VR esports thing from experience that we had before. Because our background is paintball and laser tag more than 10 years before we entered VR 5-6 years ago, right? So it was kind of an easy decision to see the competitive sports aspect of paintball and laser tag brought people back to this, so to say, old school businesses, right? And then esports is the new big thing, and we just slapped them together, put them in a VR headset, and it's that easy, to be honest. But
you got to get the game dynamics right? There's a lot of people that are working on these competitive games, and the gameplay and the core loop and the game dynamics are hard. Like,
Sure.
What advice for somebody looking at that space, either on the operation side or even the game development side? Like, what are the tricks? Like, give some nuggets of wisdom.
Well, there you're right. I mean, we had the idea to slap it together easily, and then, like all of us content studios, we saw it's not that easy to do in VR in terms of locomotion, for example. Quick head movements bring a lot of, vomit simulation, something like that. We took 1.5 years to figure out the small things like that, and also kept everything on a very, very small footprint, so we could fit a lot of units into venues to present it as like an enclosed V-Sports operation. I believe the magic really is locomotion in our game. We made a game which is very, very fast-paced and dynamic, with literally 0% motion sickness. I think that's the number one key factor to success for us.
And from a distribution standpoint, you guys can you talk about it yet? Or
We do it all. Okay. Literally, I was listening to all of you, and I said, well, we actually do it all. We have a couple of owned and operated venues that we do, and we run them to learn everything you're learning too, right? So we can then market to our actual clients better and find out what they need, and also make our product better. So we want to understand everything they need to operate it at their full capacity. And then also we have, to be honest, the 100 and more locations. That is our distribution partners. The biggest one is probably Sega, what a couple of people know us for. And we learn a lot from them as well, because they are like a very, very old school location-based entertainment company. And they're working hard with us to come to new times, to bring the new and modern wave of location-based entertainment products, not only in VR, to their venues, which are a couple thousand worldwide, and we barely scratched the surface now with a couple hundreds, and we still need to learn a lot.
Yeah. Now, Doug, you'd mentioned testing the second location, which is more kind of competitive drive and repeat play. Can you talk a little bit about what the two experiences are, how they're different, and why you did the first one before the second one?
All of our experiences we make at Nomadic are intended to drive replay. We want to keep content very exciting, to bring people back over and over, to give them reasons to play, whether that's a different character, a different capability, into a different world, what have you. And even then, we expect the content to bore, to get tiring for a local audience. And so we've developed and patented a modular physical environment that can be very easily swapped, so that we can bring new content and have a very fresh feel for every piece of content. Now, Bob, you mentioned the Arizona Sunshine experience we have right now. So We launched just a few weeks ago the very first level of this Arizona Sunshine experience. We call it the story mode. It was actually, that particular level was never intended for replay. We expected people to come back on the second. But we've been finding people coming back, literally driving an hour and a half a day to come back to our facility and to play that experience again. We're in soft launch of the next level of that experience right now, which is the arcade mode. It's the shooter mode. You know, what kind of score can you rack up? How do you compete against your buddies on the scoreboard? It's in the same overall world, but now you come back at night. Now you're underground, you've got a flashlight attached to your gun, and there's a lot to shoot. There's a lot of different guns you can have. We're introducing our first virtual goods, so you can swap out and have different guns. And of course, you're holding a real striker gun is what we use. And we reprogram those guns to have a different kick and visual appearance. So it's a great way to get people to come back over and over.
Are there scores, progressive leaderboards, anything in there yet to try to drive that repeat play?
Yeah, we have a lot to learn still. We're working on some of it, but yeah, we've got the scoreboard there now, and we're improving on it constantly.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Dorothy, are you guys doing anything around like tournaments around any of your games yet?
So we do have a system in place for some of that, and it's actually pretty pen and paper right now.
It can be. Chalkboard's fine.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
Chalkboard's old school.
Yeah, exactly. So we're going to focus on community league play, right? So think of bowling, right, and bowling leagues, so that we can actually start to derive those guys and those gals that are out there and want to get together and play and don't have an ability to. And from that, you get those bragging rights again, that they were the first to play and won that trophy for that week, whatever it might be. I'll use Killer Queen as an example, right? This is a small little company that has just had phenomenal success. Again, the content is what's driving it. 5-on-5, button mashing joystick, old school joust kind of play. Yeah. And they're in esports now, and Red Bull is sponsoring them. So wow. We're hitting into a point where we're starting to see, whether it's VR or arcade, it's becoming the next wave.
There's a company called Brewski Ball that's running skee ball tournaments in bars in hip areas, and they're crushing it. I was talking to Jan from Virtuix, who's been running esports now on his Virtuix Omni for a long time, and at his last tournament, they had the top team played 14 times to get to the top of the leaderboard, and the average team in the contest played 7 games. And because it was an asynchronous tournament, we had to move up the leaderboard and stay there, and so you get knocked down, and then you have to go back and play again.
And with things like Hologate, you actually have the ability to play the game as a team, win the game against the computer, and then be the leader on the leaderboard, just like I would in any other standard game.
If I may mention something. So Brandt, Dorothy, and I, and the Hologate guys, we've been talking about doing a Groove Guardians tournament. So our latest rhythm game is called Groove Guardians, shameless plug. But it's 4 people playing together, and it looks amazing because all of them are in sync, doing the same thing.
It's an amazing spectation experience. I saw it at IAPA, and I took a video of it because it's like synchronized swimming in VR. It's really cool.
So one of the people at IAPA was playing, and when I was putting her in the headset, I said, "Oh, have you done virtual reality?" She goes, "Just put it on me. Just put it on me." And I go, "Okay, it's okay. You know, you're gonna have a good time." She goes, "Yeah, we'll see about that." And she ended up being our video on our Facebook page. And the first thing she says, "This is better than Zumba." So she, you break out in sweat. It's a really good time. And yeah, so Brandt, Dorothy, and I, we all talked about it, and we're going to be doing a tournament later in the year.
I think it's really smart. I think it's the key to retail success is you're going to have to get into this space.
And taking your cue, you had brought it up to us too, that you guys need to think about tournaments. So thank you for that.
Thanks, Baba. Any secret tournaments going on in your world?
Yeah, you know, we just experimented kind of on a very small scale with the Virtual Athletics League, with our title that we've had out for a couple years called Blasters of the Universe. Just trying to understand like how these things operate, how it works, and then also could that inform any of the technology we're building. But yeah, no, the learning is a lot of what you're hearing here is that it's quite effective. And so we're just trying to understand like our role as a content creator and publisher, how much we get involved in planning these tournaments. And I think the net is that we're trying to get more and more involved.
It's nice to have a big company behind you so you can figure this shit out before you launch it, right? Because everybody else has launched, then figure it out, and you guys are like, we're going to take our time.
I mean, we do a little bit of both, but yeah. I mean, it's like, yeah.
So anybody else on the panel do anything, thoughts around competition in general?
Well, that's for us is driving key to success, as I said before, and also we are investing into tournaments. Like you can set up your game to play a tournament. You said you're gonna do it in pen and paper way. By the way, you should activate your trial keys for a PvP team-based game that you already have, which has
Totally
which
agree.
has a tournament system integrated,
Totally agree.
which is the third-party system leading to esports system. You should try that. You
Aaron,
do need a
Aaron,
pen and
Aaron,
paper.
if you're watching, get on that.
Yeah, do it. It's,
We'll get that done
I sent it twice. Do it. So what we're doing is we take a specific part of our revenue and put it back into tournaments. And the biggest tournament we've had was 100,000 Hong Kong dollars. Obviously, it was in Hong Kong, the big VR show. And we have had professional League of Legends players on one side and like average Joes on the other side, and they played it out big on TV, etc., etc. I think it comes out into 15,000 US or something. Yeah. That was the biggest, but we're running a lot of like a grand or two for the first place winner tournaments around the world, and we learn everything from there. And to be honest, the bigger the prize, the more people play. That's the biggest learning, right? Yeah, right? It was obvious, but still we had to figure out how much we need to in a tournament to get people engaged.
Any tips around that? Like, how do you get a prize pool? Do you have to write a check yourself? Do you get sponsors?
Yeah, to be honest, I believe the best thing also to show sponsor that it's worth it is to write the check yourself, and it doesn't have to. You don't have to go overboard, right? Well, we do, but
what's 100,000 Hong Kong dollars in US dollars?
15,000. So, but that was a big part of that was 15,000 US dollars. But it was on TV and it was like humongous screens, like a big esports tournament. Yeah. That was a lot more than 15,000 US, like for the event. But I mean, start with a grant, right? Yeah. Start with $1,000, even especially if you run the.
You can drop that on Facebook ads in a heartbeat, right?
Exactly, right? Do that, and then if you do that, you go to the sponsor and say, you know what? I put a grant in it too. Like, what about you? Put another in it, and then you find another, and then out of a sudden you have a $5,000 prize pool, and that's gonna draw people into your venue.
So let's switch back to the storytelling stuff, because I think there's, I'm definitely seeing like a divergent path where there's the guys building kind of real game repeat value competition stuff, and then there's the storytelling stuff. And I'm gonna kick it back to you, Tammy, because when you have Steven Spielberg and Hans Zimmer doing the score, obviously you've got an unfair advantage, I'm gonna say.
Yeah, it helps. I mean, that's exactly it. I mean, we're all about telling a story. It's an immersive virtual reality story, 8 to 12 minutes. So in terms of gaming or competitions or whatever, that's not currently on our roadmap. We want compelling experiences that you want to take your kids to and that you want to, go. But the folks behind Dreamscape Immersive are movie guys, to be honest. It's several studios, and then AMC Theaters let our series B round of financing, and they're going to open several of our sites next year. And again, it's a good point. We're not retail folks. None of us on the management team have done retail, but AMC we're working very closely with because they know how to run sites. Yeah. And they want to drive traffic. They want to, broaden their brand for all the reasons you read. The movie industry, the retail industry are dead. I mean, none of that's true, but they're evolving, and it's a question of who are going to be the new players. But telling a compelling story is definitely what's behind Dreamscape.
You guys opened this new site with 3 different titles.
Yeah.
Do you have 3 stages, or what's the physical setup?
Yeah, it's a good question. So all of our sites will have between 3 and 6 stages or pods, whatever you want to call it. We decided to launch with 3 titles, and we're learning the business. We definitely have a pretty robust content pipeline, but we get the question all the time, well, how long is something going to run? Well, we don't know. Right now it's new and we're selling the tickets, but a couple months from now, we'll have to decide, do we swap something out? How often can you bring it back? But it's what has been said here. Obviously, as we launch a new location, the folks in Dallas won't have seen any of them, so we'll be able to use, the titles. But we have a lot to learn. I mean, a year from now, we'll know a lot more because we'll have a lot more data.
Cool, we'll have you back. So is there, and are you seeing people buy tickets to one trip, buy multiple adventures?
So it's, you have to show up, if you buy a ticket for 1 o'clock, you have to get there 15 minutes early, and you have to go gear up, gear down. So the whole experience is still, it's about 30 to 40 minutes, even though the actual experience is 8 to 12. But
because you guys are doing hand tracking and foot tracking and everything.
So you have to go gear up. You have to, put on the gear, you have to go in, and then, you have to take the gear off and you exit. But it is surprising how many people will double down, triple down. They'll buy, for 3. So then they're there an hour and a half to 2 hours, depending on, the staggering of the shows. That's great, if they want to do it. And then you have a lot of people that will do one, and then they'll come the next weekend and do another. And then it's surprising and again, we've only been open for a month, so this is a limited data set. A lot of people are doing the, titles they like several times, which is great.
Really interesting. Like going, and some people go to movies multiple times,
That's
right?
exactly
I mean,
it.
like how many times have you watched Star Wars?
But wait, at the cinema or at home? That's a question.
Well, but even at the cinema, like I think a lot of people went and saw it multiple times. I saw Titanic at the cinema. I'm a bit of a romantic, multiple times. So and when it's something that's blockbuster and VR for people really is, it's amazing. It's fucking amazing. Sorry, it's amazing. And so like it has that impact. It's like going to see Star Wars for the first time. If you've never done free roam VR and you put on that headset, like it's life changing. So I could see why people would do it multiple times. Because the first time you're just like, you have no idea, like you're just overwhelmed, right?
Yeah, we have an underwater experience where you're swimming with whales, et cetera, and people especially are just blown away by it. Yeah, and they want to do it again because they miss a lot.
Awesome. So James, now you guys have done now the free roam stuff. What's the length? It's about 12 minutes.
It depends.
What's yours? Because you're doing shorter stuff, right?
Right. We're going anywhere from 5 minutes to 12 minutes. Okay. WePlayVR's is 12 minutes.
Wow.
But the others are, the average one, I would say, is 5 minutes.
So what do you guys feel like? I find that the longer experiences are more immersive.
Right.
And especially for location-based, if you're going to get somebody out and you're going to give them a 5-minute VR experience, like it's just that's an impulse buy.
Sure.
What do you guys, I just want to go down the panel if I can, start with Phillip and walk your way down. Like experience length, what do you think?
Well, I remember you yourself playing our game at VRLA, and you've been immersed after a second, and it took you only 4 minutes in real time to play it, and you thought it was like 8 minutes.
Yeah, there's definitely a time warp in VR, right?
In our game, we let the operator choose between 2 and 20 minutes, and what we see is everything is chosen between 4 and 7 minutes. And 8 minutes barely, and nothing over 8 minutes. I mean, that's a competitive PvP.
It's also pretty active. Like
it is very, very active.
Yeah.
But still, we gave them the choice, and then we found out they don't need it. What they need is 4 to 8 minutes, and that's it.
Now, Dorothy, you guys run. How many VR experiences do you have at 2-Bit?
I was just thinking about that. We use Springboard VR for our platform with the cabanas and the arena, the flex zone. And then we've got Rebellion in the seated pods. We've got Hologate. We've got Asterion, and we've got
The Raft.
The Raft, which is doing extremely well for us.
And do you still have the Ubisoft Triotech one, the Maze?
Yeah, that's Asterion.
Oh, that's Asterion, okay.
And it's really interesting because as a marketer, what I am finding is the entry for most people into VR is Asterion, because they want a really fun immersive experiences that's going to push them in their zone, right? Especially the Minotaur's Maze when they go through it, because it's scary and it's fun at the same time, but they know it's short. And then what they do is they've naturally progressed to the next length, and they naturally progress to the next length, and they naturally progress to a harder game. And it's really interesting to watch that phenomenon occur in the park.
So you're finding that short experience is the gateway drug, as I would call it.
It really is a gateway.
Right? And then it gets you on. Okay. Doug?
Our experiences generally revolve between 15 and 20 minutes of actual gameplay. And we really focus on trying to deliver the most fun, a real premium experience where there's a lot of physical interaction. There's a lot of things that make it feel real, that make you feel like you've traversed a very long distance despite having real tactile feedback all the way through it. People generally think that it's a 25 to 30 minute experience. And so we really deliver that most fun we can and the most revenue per square foot.
I wonder if there's a way to somehow market that. How do we, and this is a question to think about, how do we market the fact that it's twice as long as you feel? Because there's this whole per minute perception thing that the industry is struggling with, and especially the VR arcades that are pricing per minute, which I hate. Like, how do we leverage that it's actually, there's a time warp, and I wonder if there's a way to market that. And
that's the golden question. It's hard to market this at all because unless you actually are in the experience, it's hard to understand what it's like. I mean, literally in our experience, we've built our own motion platform, and while you're walking through the experience, you get on a helicopter, and it's a tuned off motion platform that tilts and pans and wind blows and it vibrates, and you really feel like you're on a helicopter and you've flown about 3/4 of a mile, all while sitting down for about 2.5 minutes during that section. And it's quite incredible. When we first started designing it, honestly, I didn't think it was going to work. And it turns out it's one of the most fun parts of the experience that we have right now.
Awesome. So we've only got time for one more comment. I want to end with you, James. So I know you're a data-driven company, right? You guys get a lot of data. You're all about AI. Have you learned anything from the sites that you have out there, either around, like, does game length and revenue? Is there any pattern that you can share with us that you've learned from the data?
We do capture a lot of data, and we're at the stage where we're really analyzing a lot of that. Certainly, one of the things we learned for particularly in the WePlayVR example, we had a demand from people for it to be longer. And so we actually, the original game was built for a 5-minute, but we all took it to 12 minutes only because there was the demand for it.
I will say, be careful listening to customers if you're building solutions out there. If you don't know how to ask the right questions, you will get the wrong answers. And one of the things that happened for Zero Latency is they went to IAPA in 2015 with a 45-minute experience that was generating over $1 million a year in retail revenue. And all the operators said, no, it got to be 10 minutes. So they built a bunch of 10-minute experiences that nobody wanted to play. Right. And so be really careful about the questions that you ask and the answers that you get. So, so we are out of time. Fucking great panel. Awesome. Thank you so much. I literally could have gone on forever.